Hey everybody, welcome to the Wands and Daggers show. My name's Daniel, this is Joe, and today we're going to talk to you a little bit about why I think diseases are underutilized and underappreciated in your tabletop role-playing games. So one of the things that I've always, that even I have rarely used is using diseases, not just to like inflict a disease on the player and say, here you go, you have a problem now, congratulations. One of the things that you can use them as is you can use them as adventuring hooks in so many different ways.
How would you go about putting in the hook? Do you focus more on diseasing a player or diseasing an NPC?
So that's really kind of the beauty of using diseases. You can use them you can give that disease to a whole host of different people. You can give it to an NPC the players care about, and now they have to figure out how to deal with this problem because, well, that merchant we visit every day, he's dying from this magical ailment that the regular cure disease potion that the cleric happened to have on hand didn't fix. Or you can give it to a player and have it be something that's just slightly persistent enough that, okay, we really should deal with this before it escalates. Something along those lines. You can give it to a whole host of different people and make it be a problem.
Sure. On the fact of putting the ailment on a player, how do you inflict them with a negative without them ever feeling like it was unfair or unjust?
One of the ways that could work is like if you were in a combat encounter with somebody that was using a poisoned blade that someone was inflicted by just because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time or something like that. You would want to use something like that with a bit more of a low threat sort of disease to it, where this blade, I call it a poison blade, but it's got some fungus or something applied to it that is having this effect, and they can learn about this effect that it doesn't really have anything immediately, but it's got a long-term effect that can be bad on the whole. So they could that fungal infected blade has infected them and has no immediate effect, but it's very, very contagious. So they know the longer they go without getting this dealt with, the more likely they're at risk of spreading it to other people. And they need to go through this lengthy process finding these specific rare ingredients to deal with it. That kind of situation.
Yeah, that could even be fun, because in that situation, you can even bring up the fact that all of a sudden the party, if they interact too much with the infected one, now has to make con saves to stop them from gaining the fungus infection as well, if you're making it highly contagious.
Exactly. It gives that sense of urgency to making sure your decisions on how you interact with this person are very deliberate. So, like you said, going through this narrow passageway where there's a risk that someone could fall off of this narrow bridge, but they have to get to the other side to retrieve this magical item that's said to be able to cure it. Well, maybe we let that person go last or go first, and we tie them to a rope to catch themselves rather than, going hand in hand to catch each other. That kind of situation. Another way that you could handle dealing with getting this infection is, again, it could be something that's being spread through the NPCs, where they visit a town and it's very obvious that many of the people of this town are sick. And so, yeah, the disease does have a direct negative effect, but anyone has a chance to have that potential bad interaction, and it's up to the players and how their characters are acting to determine, well, how likely are they to have been infected. Like, if I come into a town, if I'm playing a character that walks into a town, sees that everyone is being afflicted by some disease, I'm not going to exactly walk up to the well, take a cup and take a swig. But if another player doesn't think of it, well, maybe there was a role-playing reason, in which case, you'll have to work with that to make it not feel that unfair that you brought up. But
yeah, it also introduces a really good character standpoint to where someone who's more neutral or evil will look at the town and go, we're leaving. To where any good-hearted person is going to look more at it more like, we can probably help these people, even at the risk of their own life, and create a little bit of party drama in whether or not they want to stay and help or abandon this town.
Absolutely. And even if you have a mix, You could even have, if that evil character thinks of it, they can even think of, well, we can solve this problem for a price. And you can give that hook where you could give that hook when they're really in need of coin. So the evil character comes into this town after discovering they have a 10,000 gold debt and go, oh, there's a lot of people in this town. I could make some money real quick if I figure out this problem.
Now that you talked a lot about how to apply the disease to the characters or why they might go into a bad situation with a disease, what mechanics would you put on the diseases for them being afflicted?
So, obviously the easiest one is just the one that has no immediately visible effects other than just the fact that they learn it's contagious. Because that's just, you set the DC for it being spread and how it's spread. Long term, you would establish something like, oh, once the disease fully matures, they have to make a save every day until either they die or they manage to get cured. That would be this kind of thing where it's like, oh, this is a very bad situation that we need to deal with. Even dying might be a bit extreme, but it could be a situation where, characters might be getting knocked out of play as a result, but it's something that you set far enough in advance that they don't really have to worry about it as long as they go through and are working to fix it. But as for the other things where it has a bit more of an immediate effect, it could be something as simple as, this disease makes a person feel weak and uncoordinated, and so they have disadvantage on an attack roll, which would be a very bad sort of disease. Or it could just be that whenever it could be as simple as adding a -1 to certain skills that rely on their dexterity, or make them more susceptible to other diseases if you feel like throwing more diseases into your world, because having something that makes you weaker to other things, that lowering your constitution saves, can always be interesting. So I think that's going to be it for today, talking about diseases and their a bit more interesting application that I don't think everyone really thinks of. I know I certainly haven't. This has been Wands and Daggers. I'm Daniel. This is Joe once again, and we will see you guys next